Why are all the theist questions for atheists so dumb? That's a question I really wish I had an answer for, but while we're waiting, here we go again. The only thing that the religious seem capable of doing is embarrassing themselves, and I'm only too happy to oblige. So once again, down the stupidity rabbit hole, my friends. Won't that be fun? Let's get back to the last couple of questions from Faith Evolved, or perhaps more properly, it should be Intelligence Devolved, because these are really, really dumb, and it's ridiculously obvious where the problems lie. Our experiment isn't going well since I haven't had to jump past any of the questions yet, which is going to make the Supercut fans very happy somewhere down the line, but at least we're seeing things that we don't trip over every other day. It doesn't make them any more intelligent, though, so let's get back to the slog.
All right, so question number 7. I'm going to preface this with just reminding you that when I say God, I mean that's just a word symbol that the worlds of religions have given to an intelligence that we have come from, that we sprang from, that created us, whatever you want to call it, source, creator, again, doesn't matter.
But that concept hasn't been demonstrated to be existing in objective reality. That's what matters, but religion doesn't care because religion is a scam designed to pander to dumb people in exchange for their money. This is generally the problem that I have with self-described deists. The people who say that there's just something out there, but they can't tell you what it is. And my question is, really? How the hell do you know that? Just because you're making vague claims, that doesn't mean that you don't have a burden of proof. How did you reach that conclusion rationally, and how do you back it up for anyone else? And the answer, of course, is that they don't. It's just what I feel. Yeah, fuck you. The fact that you can lie to yourself and make silly shit up in your head, that doesn't mean that you have the slightest idea what the hell you're talking about. This is why they're not talking to us, because we're going to poke all of these gaping holes in their beliefs, and they're going to get very, very, very sad. Or mad, whatever. Because the standards never change. You either put up or you shut up, and they can't do that, which is why they fail.
But my question is, what would it take for you to believe that such a being or beings exist?
Same as every other time you've asked. Evidence. No evidence, no belief. That is never going to change. If you want to claim that there is a God, however you choose to define it, then it is your responsibility to back that up in a way that I can objectively evaluate your claim and find it to be factually correct. And you're not even trying to do that. None of them are. The claims mean nothing. It's the proof that matters, and you have none outside of your own head. And what you've got in there, that's not called proof, that's called delusion. Knock it off. But they're not interested in that, are they? They just really want to believe. And that's why this video isn't for atheists, even though he's getting his ass handed to him in the comments by atheists, because he ought to know better than to present all of these faith claims to skeptics, and clearly he doesn't. We are not just like you are. We're better. We're more rational. We're more critical. We're more intelligent. And maybe you should give that a try.
This is a serious question. I really don't have any other gotchas or explanations. It's self-explanatory. Like, I really want to know what it would take.
And I told you. Everybody else did too. Read your own damn comments. It would take clear, verifiable, demonstrable evidence that the specific God or whatever it is that you're actually trying to talk about actually exists out there somewhere without all of your silly excuses for why you can't provide it. Put up or shut up. The answer is never going to change. Granted, these people cannot put up, and they certainly won't shut up, because this isn't about truth to them. It's about comfort. It's about being happy. This is what they really want to be true. Now, what form the evidence takes depends on the actual claim being made, and where the claim is incredibly vague and ill-defined, I don't know what they'd be able to present, because I don't think they have the slightest clue what the hell they're talking about in the first place. I just feel something. Doesn't make that thing real. How do you know that? They haven't got a clue. They just really like the idea. But liking the idea doesn't mean that it's true or corresponds with demonstrable reality. And that's what it's got to do. Get on that and get back to us when you've got something you can present. Because I predict that we'll never hear from them again, and that's just fine with me.
Just out of curiosity, like what would it take for you to say, you know what, I don't know who God really is or what his character is, but I have enough information to say there has to be some kind of intelligent creator?
Well, I need information, and you haven't provided any. This is exactly why it seems to me doesn't get you anywhere. I need something outside of you and your claims and your wishes and your dreams and all the shit that you're throwing out there. I need something that I can objectively study on my own without any need to believe anything about it first. The belief comes after I've verified the evidence, not before. So where is this supposed information? I don't remember you ever presenting anything of demonstrable substance. I can't tell you how many times I've asked the religious to trot it out for me, and they simply refuse. Because they don't have anything to present. But I feel it. That isn't evidence. It's a claim, and the burden of proof is completely on your shoulders to back it up. At least give it a shot, because what you're doing right now is absolutely laughable. But they don't care about that, do they? Because they're idiots.
All right, so question number 8, and this one's kind of more for fun. I actually posed this question a few months ago on a video that I said I just smoked some CBD and had some crazy thoughts or something like that.
And there's your problem right there. You broke your brain, and now you think that what you came up with under the influence is somehow profound. It's not. Granted, we don't know what his for fun question might be. I'm willing to give it a shot, but the total lack of quality in all of his questions so far doesn't give me a lot of hope that he's got anything remotely intelligent to say now. Still, I guess we can be charitable and see what he's got. Watch me be incredibly disappointed in the end, though, because that's all I ever am when it comes to the religious. But hey, let's get back and see what he's got.
And I've had these thoughts before that, but sometimes when I'm, either smoking Delta 8 or CBD, like my brain seems to make more connections.
No, it's making less connections. It's getting rid of the rational governor that makes your thoughts make sense. Maybe that explains why you believe in any of this ridiculous bullshit in the first place. I see this a lot, not necessarily among the hardcore Jesus freaks and the like, but with the vague, loosey-goosey, generic, there's just gotta be something out there crowd. This is absurdly common. These people are not using their brains at all. In fact, they are doing everything they can to break their own cognitive functions because they're fucking idiots. But sure, go ahead, let's see what you've got.
Come up with, more, I don't know, just kind of solidifies these ideas and really makes me more inspired to really come up with ideas. But anyway, this question is, what if an advanced alien race was able to advance far enough where they were able to change reality and make themselves gods?
Oh, good. A random shower thought. Of course, he's playing fast and loose with his terminology, which we see a lot of them doing all the time. For most people, a god is something that is supernatural, that does not exist in our reality, and that transcends the universe. It's not just anything that's just more powerful than I am. An alien species is always going to be an alien species, no matter how powerful they might be. They will never transcend into godhood because they are a product of this universe. Even if they could somehow affect reality, that wouldn't make them gods. This guy is all over the place, isn't he? It's no wonder they look so dumb, because they are.
For example, what if the human race, over billions and billions of years, evolved and somehow didn't blow themselves up and didn't get killed by the sun expanding? We were able to take over the whole galaxy and evolve to the point where we had the ability to control space and time and change the laws of the universe and basically make ourselves God.
Which will never happen, not if you hope to have the word God mean anything. We're still going to be human, or whatever we call ourselves at the point, because terminology can change. And if some other species out there looks at our power and thinks of us as gods, then that species is simply mistaken. We are not gods, we're just powerful whatever we are. This is why you have to use words carefully, because words actually mean things. If we don't have common definitions, then we can't communicate effectively. Religions and the cluelessly faithful take advantage of this by playing fast and loose with the language so that people don't really understand what they're saying. But hey, if it sounds good to you, why the hell not, right? Well, I'll tell you why the hell not. Because you're just spouting bullshit, indefensible, empty claims based on what makes you feel good, not what is demonstrably true. You're going to get absolutely nowhere like that, at least not with me. So can we please get to a decent question? Because looking at the clock, we're running out of time.
And then we took all of our knowledge and all of our intelligence and created life on another planet somewhere. And that life evolved and came in contact with us or had an experience with us, and we were God to them. I mean, couldn't that happen? What if that happened? I mean, that kind of messes with people's heads. It messed with mine a little bit, but not to the point where I had some kind of existential crisis. It's just I guess anything is possible.
And you're just rambling. Granted, a lot of people do that, but that's why you have a script, so you can say what you want to say, and you don't just blather all over the place and look like a complete moron. Now, I guess that's just a personal preference thing, so let's ignore that for the moment. We still wouldn't be gods, not according to the definition that the overwhelming majority of people use. And this is why, if you remember those old movies where you get a jungle explorer who gets captured by natives, and because they have a lighter, or they know when the conveniently timed eclipse is going to happen, they get treated like gods. But they're still not gods, but the natives just don't know any better. Sorry, but I know better. And if you're going to make claims about actual gods, it's going to have to be something supernatural. Anything else isn't a god. It's just a misnamed something else. And because this video is ostensibly for atheists, and atheism is all about not believing in any gods, talking about super powerful aliens has nothing at all to do with atheism, period. So why the hell is he wasting our time?
And if that's possible, then you don't really even know. That's another thought that you have to say, you know what? I really can't know. I can't even know. But it's just something fun to think about that, for anything at all to be possible, everything could really be possible.
And this is what drugs do to the idiotic brain. He has fried his synapses to the point that I don't even think he's coherent most of the time. Now, I guess I'm starting to understand the state of his room that I mentioned in a previous video. It's all starting to make sense. This is really why I try not to address random shower thoughts, at least as much as I can, because they're not well considered or fleshed out. It seems to me is idiotic, but that's what the religious are typically doing, isn't it? There's a big step after coming up with one of those bizarre ideas, and that is putting it to the test. See if it stands up to any kind of critical scrutiny in actual reality, or if it's just some random brain fart. The religious and irrational tend not to do that. Well, it just sounds good to me. And that's about all they're after because they don't actually care about the real world. They are, like he clearly is, just after comfort. What a bunch of morons.
All right, so here's another personal question. This is question number 9. And does a part of you secretly hope that there's a God or that there's not a God?
Nope, I don't care. I care only what is actually true. I've said this before. If there is a God, I want to know. If there is not a God, I want to know. I just want to know the truth based on all the evidence that we have so far, and as far as we can tell, God seemed completely unlikely. Now, I'm open to being shown to be wrong, certainly, and this is why I keep doing this. But so far, no theist of any kind has ever shown that it's even worthy of serious consideration to think that there are any gods. They haven't shown me any evidence that would make me take their claims remotely seriously. When I ask them to back up their claims, they can only talk about their feelings and their wishes and their dreams and their faith, none of which do anything to prove that their claims are actually true. Truth is not what is in your head. Truth is that which is out there in actual reality. If you care about truth, then you will do everything in your power to ensure that what's in your head is consistent with what's going on out there in the real world. And the religious don't tend to care about that one at all, do they? Kind of sad, isn't it?
Like, this is not really a question that you have to, like, answer in the comments or something or whatever, but it's more of a question that I'd like you to think about, like, really, honestly think about. You know, and I know this is might even come across as being biased coming from me, because I believe in a God. So, for me to think of there not being a God, I can't fathom it.
And that proves that you've got problems. This is true of a lot of theists. This is what happens when you've been brainwashed. I can imagine there being a God. I can just make that up in my head. I don't care unless God is actually real. The religious aren't like that, though. They just really want to believe. They have something fundamentally wrong with themselves upstairs. This would be like someone who said, well, I can't believe that I don't have $1 trillion in my bank account, and then refuses to go to the bank to see if it's actually true. The only thing that matters is the truth of the proposition, not how the idea makes you feel. And that's the difference between a believer and a skeptic. A believer believes because they want to. A skeptic has the balls to go check it out for themselves to see if it's actually true. What you want to be true is irrelevant. It's what actually is true that matters. And the religious, and let's be honest, lots of other people out there, they are too weak-willed and weak-minded to care. And that's kind of the sad part in all of this, isn't it? That they are so terrified of reality that they'd rather live in an imaginary happy land in their heads than to just come to grips with the real world. What the hell is wrong with these morons? I don't know, but I'd sure like to.
To me, it doesn't compute, you know? And of course, I don't secretly hope that there's no God. Of course, I secretly hope there is a God. But my question to you is, do you, as an atheist, secretly hope there really is a God? Like, you really want the proof? Or do you secretly hope there is no God because you're afraid of him, or you don't want heaven, it's going to be boring, or whatever the case may be? I'm just curious.
No, you're just an idiot. You are irrelevant, and that's something that they can't figure out. There is a real world out there, and whether you like it or not, you're a part of it. What you wish was true doesn't matter. You don't matter. Only reality does. This is not a particularly unusual question, though, is it? We've seen it all before, although not nearly as often as stupid stuff like, look at the trees and the Kalam, which is why I'm allowing it in. People like Frank Turek make this claim all the time. Atheists don't want there to be a God. Said, of course, without running it past any actual atheists, because Frank is an idiot too. And a con man. At least, I don't think this guy is asking for any money, but hey, I don't know, this is the only video of his I've ever seen. The epistemic standards that these people have are laughably poor. Maybe they should do something about that. What do you think?
What is your emotional motivation for seeking God?
I have no emotional motivation. Emotions don't motivate me to do anything. Intellect does. If you're letting emotions run your life, then you've got problems. This, again, is something that we see all the time, both from the religious and otherwise, because these people have no boundaries. They just want to feel happy. So what? I mean, sure, being happy is great and all, but you can't sacrifice your intellectual honesty to get there. These people are like, take it away, I just don't want it. And that's dumb. Get your emotions out of your critical thinking skills, because they're not helping. Quite the opposite, in fact. No wonder you people are so dumb. You're doing intelligence wrong.
Or not seeking God. All right, and last but not least, question number 10 is my favorite question of all, and it is, how can you know for sure that I don't know God?
That's a stupid question. Because first off, we can't know anything with absolute certainty. Nothing at all. I don't even know that I exist with absolute certainty. That's just a stupid idea. Secondly, I've got no reason to take anything that you're saying about any God seriously because you are not presenting any corroboratory evidence in support of your claims. Just because you really believe it, that doesn't make it true. Because you can say the exact same thing about anything, right? How do you know I don't know that invisible, intangible, universe-creating pixies exist? How do you know that I don't know that the Loch Ness Monster exists? I mean, this is just stupid. It's your job to back up your claims if you care if we believe you. And if you don't, then why are you asking this question to begin with? The whole thing is just dumb. But I guess really, what can we expect, right?
And here's a quote from the Urantia book that sums up this idea pretty succinctly. Paper 102, section 6.5 says, convictions about God may be arrived at through wise reasoning, but the individual becomes God-knowing only by faith, through personal experience.
We don't care what your stupid book says either. I would reject every bit of that. Faith is completely useless, and thinking that whatever you believe is actually true is just idiotic. I'm willing to bet that no other atheist is going to accept any of that, which probably explains the number of downvotes that he's getting. This is really why I keep saying that we're not speaking the same language. The religious have their view of what's true based on their own faith and fifis, and the non-religious have their view of what's true based on evidence and reason. Those two are never going to agree, and they shouldn't. Our epistemic standards are just better than theirs because ours are demonstrable and theirs laughably are not. But then again, we're not looking for the same things, are we? We are looking for truth, and they are only after comfort. They don't give a damn if what they believe is actually true or if it's complete bullshit, so long as they wind up happy in the end. We actually care what's going on in the real world. What can you show is actually going on? Nothing. Nothing at all, because they're not remotely interested. They just really want to believe. I find that completely ridiculous, and for some weird reason they don't. So they typically don't want to talk to us, because they're terrified of us. And they probably should be.
And much that pertains to life, probability must be reckoned with. But when contacting with cosmic reality, certainty may be experienced when such meanings and values are approached by living faith.
All of which is just meaningless gibberish. You have no evidence for any of it. It's just comforting sounding bullshit that you really like, and that means nothing to anyone with a brain. That's where the excuses and bald rationalizations come out, right? Well, you just don't understand. No, we understand just fine. It's all just bullshit that you're too gullible to see straight through. But we can. You can't. We can. The problem is yours, not ours. You don't care about the actual truth. We do. The problem is still yours, not ours. We're the only ones willing to put it to the test, and you're not. You'd rather just believe on faith, and that's just idiotic. we need to be brave enough to call a spade, and they're never going to be able to do that, are they? They're only hiding in their safe spaces because they're a bunch of children. But it doesn't matter what makes them happy. It matters what is actually true, and there needs to be some way, some testable way, some demonstrable way to get from "it sounds good to me" to "this is what's actually going on," at least to the best of our current ability to determine it. And they don't give a damn. So the failure is all theirs. I trust no one is at all surprised.
The God-knowing soul dares to say, "I know," even when this knowledge of God is questioned by the unbeliever.
Because you're an idiot. Because you are claiming knowledge with no evidence whatsoever to back you up. Sorry, this is not helping your case. This is just making you look even dumber. And that's not a good thing. Yet the religious will never admit to the obvious truth, will they? Because they don't care about the truth at all. They just really want to believe. This is why we keep going around and around in circles, because we care about the actual truth, and they don't. If they did, they wouldn't constantly make fools of themselves, and they do. So luckily, we're at the end of the video. Let's give them a chance to wrap it up, because I'm really getting tired of the constant dumb, aren't you?
Who denies such certitude because it is not wholly supported by intellectual logic. To every such doubter, the believer only replies, "How do you know that I do not know?"
That's a ridiculous deepity. I know that you don't know because you have presented no epistemically justified reason for me to take your unsupported claims seriously at all. Because you're an idiot. You need to do a whole lot better than that. Give it a shot, because it's really not that hard.
This is what it comes down to in the end, folks. Nothing I can say or do will ever prove that God exists. It's only going to be through your own personal experience, and that's the only proof that would ever suffice for you or anyone, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks and God bless.
So, you're just admitting defeat. I mean, maybe not in so many words, but that's still what you're doing. This is what they're all doing. This is why religion is dying. And this new agey nonsense, it's all going away too. It's a little hard to gauge it, granted, although there are some deist organizations in the world like the World Union of Deists and the Church of the Modern Deist, although neither really one has a membership number published, and at least the World Union of Deists, they work through subscriptions, which gets them a newsletter, and that's about it. But you can also look at the Unitarian Universalists, which isn't quite the same category necessarily, but they're dying too. Membership is way down. Most of the ones that remain are old, and virtually no young people are joining up. More often than not, they're not even a religious group anymore, but a political action committee. There's really no way to gauge just how well the Urantia movement is doing, since they don't have organized churches or anything, and they were really never that popular to begin with. But there's no indication that they're doing any better than any other religion is, because they're all dying. I mean, going by the Urantia subreddit on Reddit, they only have 1.4 thousand members, and that's pathetic. Their website traffic is really low too. I can't find actual numbers, but in June of 2025, their global ranking was 2,458,146, and that's not good. Anyhow, that's 10 questions down, and we didn't even have to skip any, which kind of does away with the experiment, but you know, it is what it is. Would you like me to try again on another video? Let me know that down in the comments. And while you're there, let me know what you thought of this last batch of questions. Because these were painfully dumb, weren't they? Even if we don't see them all the time. They fail for the exact same reason that all questions for atheists fail. Because they don't know what atheism is. And they think everyone is just like they are. And they're just wrong, and laughably so. But maybe you've got a different take on it. Go ahead and post it in the comments, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya.